Hello and welcome to another edition of Agenda 2063 TV show, the only show in Ghana, the region, continent, telling authentic and important stories around the African Union and its institutions. And even though we spent the better part of the series talking about African Continental Free Trade Area related issues, at the end of the day, we will all still come back to the Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. And the Africa we want is huge. There's so much that we want from Africa. And that's why it's always important to segment and bring to you different areas of what Africa is. That's why we're going to give you our two segments that we normally do, the APRM Watch and Ear on East Africa. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. So welcome back from the break. I'm very happy to be giving you a latest update of the Africa Peer Review Mechanism Watch. This is the space where I give you updates and developments around the African Peer Review Mechanism. Now, ahead of the APRM review process of South Africa, we're going to take a quick look at some of the developments around the Twitter feed that has been developing. One of them reveals that issues flagged in South Africa's 2007 APRM review include socioeconomic inequalities, corruption, unemployment, xenophobia, crime, and gender-based violence. Pretty much ingredients that afflict almost every other African country. Perhaps in South Africa it's especially acute, but it is certainly one of the things that they want to take a look at as they prepare themselves for the peer review, a review of that. So, to help all this come into shape, what the South African Institute for International Affairs is seeking to do is to set up a WhatsApp group. It actually has set up a WhatsApp group. I actually joined a couple of hours ago that has invited the youth of the country to participate in the country's upcoming APRM process. Now, this is novel because back in 2007, WhatsApp wasn't really in vogue. So now that with all these new telecommunication systems, it allows for easier communication. So we're very happy to see this WhatsApp group in process. Some of us are on it, and we've seen a lot of obviously South African numbers and some from parts of the continent. They also want to see how the APRM is working and how South Africa can be a part of it. So if you want to find out more about this, you can check out their website, www.aprm-au.org, and also take a look at the Twitter feed as well, at APRMORG, to get some updates on the latest developments around the APRM. So that's all for the APRM Watch today, which is quite a short one, but next week we'll give you a bit more updates on that. We'll be right back with our next update. Welcome back from the break, and I'm always very happy to be giving you an update on Ear on East Africa. And as always, also many thanks to Beverly Ashan for helping produce this segment. So we're going to quickly zoom into different areas. We're going to zoom into governance and then security. So let's start off with governance. In Tanzania, the electoral body, NEC, has suspended the opposition's election campaign, whereby the main opposition presidential candidate, Tundu Lissu, who returned to the country from Belgium after surviving being shot no less than 16 times in 2017. How you can survive that and be alive, I'm not quite sure. But anyway, he's in the news again after having been suspended from election campaign activities for 7 days. It's not enough to have been shot, now you've been suspended from campaign. Oh dear, some people's lives. But anyway, he was accused of making seditious statements during one of his rallies. The National Electoral Commission said the commission had received complaints from two political parties, the ruling Chama Cha Mapindu and National Reconstruction Alliance, regarding statements made by a Chadema candidate that breached the election code of ethics at a rally in Northern Mara region. Lissu will remain suspended effective October 3rd, 2020. But after all that has happened to him, including COVID, I'm not quite sure whether he really minds. But anyway, let's take a quick look at security. Kenyatta, the president of Kenya, is to refuse if US asks for drone strikes. Now, previous news that the US is reportedly seeking permission from Kenyan government to carry out drone strikes targeted at Al-Shabaab has been refuted by President Uhuru while on an official visit to France. This is the first time the government is officially responding to claims first reported by the New York Times in September. In his statement, he denied reports that the US military sought authorization to carry drone strikes inside Kenya and stressed that if such a request were made, he would refuse. Now, the backdrop to this is very important. You may recall I've said it in different shows that AMISOM, the AU mission in Somalia, has been around since 2007. They're fighting Al-Shabaab in Somalia. And the Kenyan Defense Forces, the major military force of Kenya, has been leading on this, as well as Ethiopia and some of the other East African states. So the backdrop of this is important to understand. And in a year in which AMISOM is seeking to draw down on the troops, this can be quite complicated if there's still discussions about drone strikes. But we'll definitely give you an update on this very important development, because as far as we knew, just 3 months before 2020 ends, there was going to be a drawdown of troops around AMISOM. So quite why these developments are happening, we're not quite sure. But it's important to give you an update as and when practicable. So let's quickly turn to UN Tribunal news related to East Africa. A French court ruled on Wednesday that Rwandan genocide suspect Félicien Kouabouga should be handed to a UN tribunal for trial. The 84-year-old is accused of establishing the notorious hate radio Radio-Télévision Libre de Mille Collines, which incited people to kill the Tutsi population back in 1994 during the genocide. It is also said to have financed the import of tons of machetes, which were distributed to militias across the country and used to hack many genocide victims to death. Having escaped for 25 years, he was finally arrested in May this year and is expected to face a UN tribunal in Arusha, Tanzania. So a lot of different perspectives, as per usual, on developments around East Africa. We hope to be able to give you many more interesting updates for next time when we return with a fresh new update of EAR in East Africa. Thank you, and we're going to speak to our all-important guest, Atiewin Mbillah Lawson, right in a minute. We'll be right back. All right, so welcome back from the break. My name is E.K Bensah Jr., your regular host for Agenda 2063 TV show, where we give you all the best and authentic stories around the AU and its institutions. And like I said in earlier discussions, and today is a particularly important day for having a conversation around the media, because in a couple of months, the Secretariat of the African Continental Free Trade Area is going to be open for business. That is when really people are going to start understanding how it all works. They're going to be trooping in and out of the Secretariat, that kind of thing. So we need people to actually understand that it's not just another AU institution in town sitting like a white elephant. It's actually have people who are going to do work. And who is actually going to do that conveying of information? That's the media. So we want to get back to the past a little and speak to some of the people who have helped us along this journey to help us understand how we got here. Because without the media, without actually understanding and breaking down some of the issues as clearly as possible, we'll not be able to be where we are. So especially around the complex issue like the African Continental Free Trade Area, where some people are not sure whether it's time for the private sector, to run roughshod, or whether it's time for the AU to do whatever it wants. We need to have a meeting of the minds where everyone is clear why the African Continental Free Trade Area is here. And so today in the studio we have EIB personality, Atiewin Mbillah Lawson, who was one of the first people to help us, unpack and demystify this whole development around the African Continental Free Trade Area through very good production shows and understanding with Media House for us to really get a sense of developments. So we just want to get a kind of behind the scenes of how it is or how it was for her when this all after conversation started, because a lot of us didn't really even know that Ghana was going to get the Secretariat. So we now had to play catch up and make sure that as many people. So the journey is still underway. Reasons for which we have shows like this, but it's always also important to recognize people who have, helped you along the journey. And so Atiewin Mbillah Lawson is one of those people. So we're very happy to have her here in the studio. Atiewin, nice to have you here.
Good to be here, and congratulations. We're almost there, aren't we?
We're almost there.
Yes.
Yes. So 2021 is just around the corner.
Yes.
Before we blink, it'll be upon us.
Yeah.
But when you also blink back into the past a bit, I'm sure you think back to when you had all these people coming to talk about ECOWAS and EU. Tell us a little bit about how that all went for you, the media dynamics around the reporting, because I'm sure you've been used to kind of reporting style, but now Continental Free Trade Area, where do you start?
Yeah. Well, for me, it was an interesting experience. I have a background in international relations, and actually I did my dissertation on Pan-Africanism. So I had an idea, and its relevance in the 21st century. And so I had an idea about the African Union, of course, ECOWAS and other regional blocs, and the need for integration. But there was also that understanding that does the AU still have the relevance that many had imagined during the OAU era? Because initially it was all about the liberation of the countries, then bringing together one Africa. But with time, it seems that we have fizzled out. And so first of all, reporting as a journalist, you need to break matters down for people to understand. But when your audience already has a preconceived notion that, the African Union is just about countries, it's not about people. And that's always the problem, because it's the African Union of the people, not necessarily of the countries, because of course the people make up the countries. Then it makes it very difficult to capture their attention in that way. So first of all, we had to, well, for me anyway, I had to get the people who would not just talk about it in abstract, but make it relevant to everybody, to everyday life. And the best way to go about that when we talk about AfCFTA is people's pockets and business.
We all
because
like that one.
because everybody wants to hear about how they can make extra money and how, this new AU body is going to assist the average Ghanaian make money, give them a bigger market to sell to, we like to travel, so give you the opportunity to travel with fewer restrictions. So it was very important, first of all, to make it relevant to everybody's everyday life, which was therefore everybody has a business idea. We're all business people, in Ghana, one way or another. So to make it relevant in that way was very, very important. Now, the best way to do that, and what I learned through the years, was to start getting the unions involved, the trade unions. Because when the trade unions are involved, their members are involved. When they are members, because when you are going to interview, for example, the TUC chairman or the AGI chairman or president, you put out artwork. Their members will want to listen to their president or their chairman speak and represent them. And through the listening, they're able to better understand. Now, these people go to their various places of work and they interact with those who are not necessarily members of the union or the association, but they are people who are interested in matters to do with integration, matters to do with trade. And so then they pass it on to their colleagues, who then pass it on to their families. Then they go to church and they have these kind of conversations. And then the market, so it moves round. And also remember that in ECOWAS, for example, we have the free movement of persons and goods and the likes. But many say that this is mostly for those who are in the border towns and the bureaucracies. There's a lot that goes on the borders. So you must make sure that you explain to them that this is what it really entails. And if you're enjoying the benefits of ECOWAS, imagine what the AU could do for you. So that was also important to point out. But Emmanuel, a challenge that we had was the language. Because we speak English. The media house I work for, predominantly we speak English. We have the 3 stations as well, but for where I work, we speak English. But not everybody understands the English. And a lot of those who are involved in the cross-border trade, especially along the ECOWAS sub-region and along our borders, they do not understand big English, they would say. The technicalities, very difficult to explain. Okay. So you not only need to break it down in English, but you also need to break it down in such a way that the person who doesn't necessarily understand, customs, you have to break it down to the barest minimum so that they are able to understand, and so that the person who is listening to you and who understands the English understands it so well that they can do it, they can explain it in the local dialects. Yes. They can explain it in Twi, in Ga, in Ewe, in Kusal, in Dagbani, in Wala, in so many languages so that everybody can understand. So that was a major challenge, but through interactions with the unions and also the persons on the ground, I would think that we're able to get some of that done.
In fact, in what you are describing just takes me back to what the French call vulgarisation. For the French, they use the word vulgarisation to mean popularization, which is very interesting because for them, what they're trying to say with that is that you're breaking it down to the barest, let's say, minimum for everyone to understand. And that also takes me back then to whether there's a need to quickly start looking at how issues around the African Continental Free Trade Area needs to also be broken down into local languages without necessarily making it too vulgar. Because for example, in Ghana, the way we speak on radio in Twi and these local languages, there's it sometimes defies, how English grammar. We go into poetry and everything before we get to the point of the story, which can sometimes be very distracting. So, in your view, how is there a fine balance where there's a necessity to break these things down to the common man, but without necessarily making it too common for them?
I think that the line between making it common and too common is about the understanding. Ultimately, it's about letting the listener or the viewer understand what you are trying to say. Whether they understand it when you say it poetically or whether, because you see, when you want to explain technical things, and by the time you're done explaining it, the person you're explaining it to doesn't understand. You haven't done anything. And also, when you explain it and the person understands, but they think that it is above them, you haven't done anything. Because this is supposed to be for all of us. So if we are able to understand it the way we say it, if we want them to understand it, we have to speak their language. And I'm not just speaking about the literal form of language, but you must speak it in a way that they will be able to understand. Because if you don't do that, for example, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, you can't import rice from China to Ghana and say you're going to sell it to Nigeria and enjoy the perks of the Continental Free Trade Area, or to Kenya. It must be a good made in Ghana. But to explain that to somebody, you may have to give them a scenario of somebody going to bring goods from China or from Europe and bring it and repackaging it and selling it, as opposed to the person who has grown maybe the rice or whatever it is in Ghana, and then you tell them that to these two people went to sell there and this person got a discount and this person didn't.
Scenario.
So now they understand. They're like, okay, so if I go and grow the rice in my farm in the backyard and then I package it nicely and then I can enjoy it. But if I just go and bring it from another country and then I want to repackage it and I won't enjoy it. Maybe for someone that's the best way for them to understand. And when people understand it, then they're empowered to challenge not challenge the system, but challenge those who try to take advantage of the system.
I see.
Because we always have persons who want to make money where they should not be making money, or take advantage of what they will call people's ignorance or lack of information. But if the person is informed enough and they know that, wait, but I heard on this station that if I do it this way, I'll get it right. So what are you telling me? Why are you saying that? Then if indeed they need more clarity, you can explain to them, oh, this is the situation, this is the situation. But if you try and make it so technical or what some would say more elitist, then the people who are supposed to benefit from this will not benefit from it. So it's very important to break it down without losing the import of the message, because if you lose the import of the message, technically you've not done anything.
Okay, and in your view, do you think that the reporting on the African Continental Free Trade Area is a business issue or it's a general news issue?
I think it's a general news issue.
Okay.
I think it affects everybody because, and I think business affects everybody.
Yeah.
So let's not make it just about selling and buying. This is a way of life.
Yeah.
This is how we're supposed to interact with each other going forward. Yeah. This is an avenue for us to have some form of a United States of Africa. This would be the biggest trade union in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it should not be limited to business. This is every day. This should be a headline story. This should be a first story about how amazing this is going to transform our lives. And so it shouldn't be limited to business. It should be everything, technically.
So we're going to take a break in a minute, and we'll return to that very important because there's some things I want to unpack there. So we'll be right back.
This is Africa's most friendly nation, Ghana. A warm reception awaits you in an environment where you can discover and harness your full potential. Your home is an academic haven lying northeast of the city center, a quick dash from the airport. A spirited community where young, vibrant minds are empowered to express themselves, break academic boundaries, and thrive in an atmosphere of rich cultural heritage and excellence in various collegiate and extracurricular activities. This institution represents a whole new world of fun and offers you a variety of activities, facilities, and services geared towards your total development. Believing in the uniqueness of all our students, we encourage them to pursue excellence in integrity. Welcome to the University of Ghana, your preferred academic destination.
All right, so welcome back from the break. We're having a very interesting discussion about media dynamics, involving the whole reporting of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Because at the end of the day, someone has to tell the story, and that is the media. So very happy to welcome back once again Atiewin Mbillah Lawson, who has been at the forefront of discussions around the African Continental Free Trade Area, has joined us on this journey since we started talking about AfCFTA and so on, and to just help us chart the way forward on what needs to be done very quickly. So we're just, Atiewin, we're just talking about this being a business, after being a business story and, a general news story. In your view, though, in the light of what you've seen with Ghanaian media, what needs to quickly happen so that we move it from it being a segment in business news to mainstream news?
I think that first of all, there's nothing wrong with it being a business news story because that has a market in itself, and so there are people who will greatly benefit. But I think that it always being a business story is a challenge. Now, I want to give a classic example. Normally when we talk about trade between Ghanaians and Nigerians and Lebanese and all those things, they are business stories, right? Unfortunately, however, because of recent challenges we've had with the retail sector and the likes, it becomes a main line story, and then we have analysis on it and the likes. Bad news is not always a headline. But the challenge sometimes is that we talk about after when there's a news conference, when there's a sword cutting, when the secretariat was launched in Accra, that was a huge story. Why? Because the president was there.
Yes.
You see? And so it became a so what will this mean for the average Ghanaian? What will this mean for the business people? I'm sure you got a number of calls at that time, people wanting to interview you. It was a first story on many media platforms. After that, we're waiting for 2021 before it becomes. So there's a need for constant education, but you see, it needs to be made interesting and attractive. So it's not just about a story.
Yeah.
We've done this. AfCFTA is here. The building has 25 rooms. No. We need to understand. People need to have an interest in it, not just those who are doing business, but Ghanaians need to know that this is going to benefit and affect every aspect of our lives. Whether or not you are directly involved, it's going to affect you directly or indirectly. So it's important for you to listen, and it's important for you to want to know more. I think also we need to go beyond AfCFTA and look at what AfCFTA really entails. Because there are a lot of aspects of AfCFTA that may be controversial, that maybe people want to debate on, but they don't know it exists.
Okay. Examples?
For example, what I spoke about, Nigeria closed their border. They said that it was partly because of the importation of the flooding of the market of substandard goods, and they spoke about rice and the fact that they want to focus on the local production of rice. Then we have the rules of origin for AfCFTA. What do they entail? Do the people know? Does that affect what Nigeria has done? Let's look at our retail market. We have local laws. Then we have international protocols. Can we marry the two? Do all the AfCFTA protocols fall in line with our local laws? Have we looked into that? We need to look into that. We also need to find out from the traders, what are their concerns? When it comes to AfCFTA, do they feel that their jobs will be taken from them? Because there are concerns of that nature. When there was Brexit, to move a little away, Brexit, a number of people voted for Brexit because they thought that persons from the EU, now the EU because the UK is out, were coming into the UK and taking away their jobs. And so they felt that no.
Especially the East Europeans.
Exactly. So they felt that no, we're going to vote for Brexit, not Brexit. Some of them are regretting it at the moment, but that's beyond the point.
Story.
You know, so these are the kind of things that we need. We need to ask ourselves: are we going to have a potential in 20, 30 years, a potential Brexit in Ghana, where we're like, no, we don't want to be part of it anymore because it is not going to be beneficial for us? Do we know entirely what the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities and threats are, the SWOT analysis? Have we done that? What about AfCFTA and corruption? Have we looked into that? Where does that all, where does all that fit into AfCFTA? What about matters to do with disagreements? How are they going to be solved? Who makes up the bodies that are going to resolve these disputes? Do we know? Are they the best? We have, because you know, when we had the retail market concern, some said that go to the ECOWAS courts. What do we have for AfCFTA? Who makes up those courts? What is the process? We always say that justice delayed is justice denied. Is it going to take 5 years to resolve a situation? You know, these are the things when you tackle AfCFTA one step at a time. Literally, you could have headlines for the rest of the year until 2021.
So basically, talking about different policies around AfCFTA.
Yes.
Because even now, as you will know, there are some of us participated in forums where they're talking about AfCFTA and peace and security. There's no clear linkage necessarily, but the linkage is that freedom of movement is part of peace and security. So if in Somalia they have issues with peace and security, AMISOM is there. The AU mission is fighting. It's been there since 2007. How would you expect Somalia to sign the Freedom of Movement Protocol, which is important for AfCFTA, and then say that it's also going to trade? It would rather sort out its peace and security issues before trading. So I think the point you're making is very clear, and I think it offers a lot of lessons for all of us going forward, all of us that are part of the process, and even ordinary individuals to also begin questioning this whole AfCFTA, the linkages, because governance, good governance, human rights, and all these things, they need to be had in the whole conversation. And
even with that, you hear the politicians speaking. Have you seen any manifesto that talks about AfCFTA?
None. And given that Ghana is the
we are hosting the Secretariat.
Can you imagine?
And the next government, irrespective of who wins, will be spearheading that.
And they will
2021,
need to have a policy.
We don't hear that. And nobody's asking. That's a headline in itself. That's not business. That is mainline news. Because we know there were concerns raised that the parties are not talking about climate change. We didn't put that in the weather. That was mainline news. So these are matters that affect everybody. And so we need to stop looking at it or presenting it as just business. But something that I think, Emmanuel, part of the reason why it's always been presented as business is because I think there's a seeming lack of training and access to resource.
Okay.
When you hear about AfTA in a classic newsroom, there's an AfTA news conference. Who is going? Business.
Yeah.
We don't have, it all boils down to the understanding.
Yeah.
And so if there's not enough training or, provision of that kind of opportunity for people to actually understand that this could mean this and this could mean that, then when the person comes back from the news conference and they're asked for a story, they look for the only thing they understand, and that is the story.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there may be other matters as important, but because of a lack of understanding, as far as they're concerned.
So I guess in wrapping up in the next couple of minutes, what you're trying to say is that there's a lot of work to be done.
Yes.
And I believe what you're also trying to say, that even in the newsroom, there needs to be more people hired now that AfTA has come, because you're going to have people who will need to have skills. For example, yourself, who has a background in international affairs, a master's, to be able to be discerning enough to understand that, okay, AfTA is here. It's not just a business issue, but what are the linkages in the context, let's say, of this, of Ghana, of Nigeria, of this. And so in many ways, it's actually a golden opportunity for lots of professionals to start thinking through, AfTA is here, how does it affect me?
Yeah.
So the challenge then going forward, in your view, in the final couple of minutes, how would you, what takeaway would you like to offer the ordinary individual who is listening, who is watching, and also the number of academics and policymakers concerned with the Association of African Universities, because a lot of them do watch this show and they'll be interested, for example, in a curriculum. One of the shows that we are definitely going to bring on board one of these days would be, what would an AfTA curriculum, for example, look like? So that would be the research academic side, but for example, for your side, the media side, your final takeaway on what you think needs to quickly be done to create or be relevant in the conversation on AfTA? I
think first and foremost, there needs to be training.
Yeah.
That's first, training. Okay. I think there needs to be constant dissemination of information, constant engagement with AfTA, and not just AfTA, but those who understand AfTA and what it means. And I think the resource persons also need to avail themselves. I know that you and Louis, the executive director, Louis Yao Aful, are doing an amazing job. You're always available to explain. But we have so many media houses and you are too. So if everybody's calling you, where are you going to go? We need more resource people to explain it and to break it down and to bring the linkages. We're in an election year. We're going to the polls in a little over 60 days. So we need to find ways of incorporating AfTA into the electoral campaigns and policies that our politicians are talking about.
It's a little too late.
It's never too late. Even if it's 10 days to an election, it's never too late. All you need is an opportunity to get the politicians or the persons who have a want or a desire to lead the nation and ask them, what's your view on AfTA?
That's all.
That's it.
Simple 5 words.
When you know, because at the end of the day, we are the people, but they will determine a lot of what AfTA will mean for us. So we need to know what they have in store for us. And based on that, it will actually bring a lot of interest. After 2021, or in 2021, when everything is working, then we can now look at the modalities. What is in it? What do we need to possibly tweak? We can even look at that now, but because of the season that we're in, it might be a little bit difficult to get all that done at this time. So let's focus on what we can get done at this time. If we have a presidential debate, I would expect that would be one of the questions that would be asked.
Okay. That's a lot of food for thought.
Yeah. So let's hope we have the debater. They can tell us what AfTA means to them and what they're going to do to ensure that Ghana not only holds the secretariat, but Ghanaians benefit and enjoy AfTA. And we finally have that form of unity that we expect to have
where
from
the
it.
pocket will also matter.
Yes, and where I can say that I am African, proudly African, and this is what Africa has done for me, and I don't feel the need to go anywhere else. COVID is an opportunity for us to also see that maybe intra-Africa is just as good, if not better. Yeah.
All right. And on that note, I want to say thank you so very much
Thank
for taking
you.
time of your
Thank
very, very
you.
busy schedule, because I know you're very, very busy, to come into the studios and talk to us. And for viewers out there, thank you so much for availing yourself to also take advantage of these important conversations. At the end of the day, Agenda 2063 is the Africa we want, and in consonance with Aspiration 7, that sees the AU as a global player. The whole African Continental Free Trade Area is going to be a major part of reminding people, consolidating the view that the AU can become a global player. So we want to say thank you once again. And you can check out all the other videos of Agenda 2063 by checking out the tv.aau.org, and check out the social media channels of AAU TV. They're doing some great work, and check out the other programs as well. Thank you once again. We hope to see you next time for another very interesting conversation. Make sure that you take a look at your Agenda 2063 booklet every single time that we have this show, though. So have a great day. We'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.